things set up for this game to create Shedeur an opportunity. Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel are both dealing with hamstring injuries. So lest anyone think that the Browns and Matt Stefanski were like, hey, we're going to go ahead and start Shedeur because he's at the top of our depth chart. No, he's fourth on the depth chart now. The depth chart was released earlier this week. Joe Flacco's number one, then it's Pickett, then it's Gabriel, then it's Shedeur Sanders. But all that goes out the window Thursday night for a guy, Shedeur Sanders, who needs the ball in his hands, right, if he's going to move up this depth chart. So this opportunity presents itself, and there are certain situations in life, right? This is a life, like, yeah, if it was just another fifth-round pick, I don't think we'd be talking about it right now. In fact, I know we wouldn't, right? But it's Shedeur Sanders. And we talked about all the time about, like, Shedeur, like, doesn't necessarily blow you away with, like, measurables and arm strength and speed. But if you watched him play, he's a winner. If you watched him play, he's a leader of men. If you watched him play, he makes the right throws. Who was I talking to yesterday? Somebody that knows a ton about football. Maybe it was it Brad Sham? It was somebody different, actually. I was having a really interesting football conversation with somebody yesterday. Maybe it was Brad Sham. But he talked about decision-making and how that separates quarterbacks, right? Like, great decision-making. And Shedeur has great decision-making skills. If you look at his touchdown-to-interception ratio when he played in college at Colorado and at Jacksonville State, it was really good. So, like, that is something – or Jackson State, excuse me. So that is something I hope we see, right? And I don't want to – like, I don't think the pressure will get to Shedeur, but this is not like any other preseason game. Like, that's one thing I need to impress upon people. The Browns have Tyler Huntley on their depth chart because of the injuries that have happened to these other two guys. So, you know, it's going to be Shedeur and it's going to be Tyler Huntley pretty much. So, or Huntley, excuse me. So Shedeur will probably get a lot of reps, right? I don't think they want to play Joe Flacco. And the other two guys are dealing with hamstring injuries. So we should see a lot of Shedeur. I think back, and I had thought about this, and I saw somebody on ESPN mentioning yesterday, I forget who it is, but if you remember in 2012, the beginning of the Seahawks, like, mini dynasty, they should have won 2 Super Bowls, but it all started when Russell Wilson was able to beat out, and I wrote it down here, Matt Flynn, right, and Travarius Jackson. God rest his soul. But he beat Travarius Jackson and Matt Flynn out in training camp, and he did it with an opportunity to play in preseason games. He blew the doors off people. I think it was against the Cowboys that he played so well. And it was basically like he grabbed that starting job and was like, this is my job, right? And there was no looking back after that. And Shedeur has the same exact opportunity. Like, if you think about it in life, right? I can tell you, I am sitting here right now talking to you guys because of a medical circumstance that happened to someone 4 years ago. So it was 2021. I was coming out of, like, a bad relationship. I was like, I've never been a woe is me guy, but I lived with a woman. It went terribly awry. I had gotten out of it, and you know, just like two people, it didn't work out. But you know how that's like. You make a major commitment in life, and then it falls apart. It's embarrassing. You're bummed. You got to shift gears. So I never stopped working my job on the news in Waco. But I had done play-by-play for a while. I had done, studio shows for sports teams, and I'd kind of gotten away from it with TV news. But I was like, I kind of had a moment to get my stuff together, and, like, I was doing play-by-play for, like, ESPN, like, Plus, and I had some good reels. So this relationship happens. It ends. I get all my stuff together, like, really get on it, right? And just boom, like, I'm getting it to everybody I know. And, you know, I'm older and I worked in sports, so I did know people at ESPN. And I also knew that I was good at play-by-play. And I got an opportunity, and the opportunity came when Keith Moreland, who is a former Major League Baseball player for the Phillies and the Cubs, I remember off the top of my head, legendary broadcaster too, was Longhorn Network play-by-play guy, baseball, and still does college baseball for ESPN. But Keith had a medical episode. He had a heart attack. And I got a phone call on like a Monday, and they were like, we need you. I was a guy in the region. They said, we need you in Austin to call like 5 games for Texas baseball for ESPN. Like, I'd never called a game like on linear television, and they were like, can you do it? I was like, absolutely. So I go to Austin. I'm like beyond prepared. I know that this is my opportunity, and I know I just have to let it rip. And Ivan Rodriguez was it Ivan Rodriguez? Anyways, Texas had a guy, Ivan Melendez? Yeah. The Hispanic Titanic, dude. He was on the cusp of breaking a single season record for home runs for the Longhorns. And when you know it, he tied it, and I was on the call. Now, all that stuff lined up, and that call got to certain people who were like, wow, I guess this guy's okay. And I went through a year of kind of like like an audition, calling like 10, 12 games for ESPN. And then after that, I got a contract, right? All that being said, like, I was not Shedeur Sanders. Nobody was disappointed when I ended up going to rehab and like screwing up my career, right? But I got back on my feet, get sober, and now I'm in like the scheme of life, like throwing some punches, right? And I get this opportunity to call these games for the Longhorn Network with Greg Swindell. And I ain't going to tell you that it went perfect, but it went pretty good. And by the second game, I was just letting it rip. And by the third game, the guy Melendez tied the home run record, and that call got out. What I'm saying is, and what we've all experienced in life, like doors open with opportunity. Whether you're Shedeur Sanders or some dude named Souza doing the local news in Waco that's trying to get his shot with ESPN, right? Doors open. And let me tell you something. I'll tell you one other story, right? When I was 2 years sober, I had been broadcasting for the NBA G League, doing play-by-play. And I did a pretty good job. Like, I got some chops calling games, you know. Check me out. Houston and Stephen F. Austin, week 1, college football season for ESPN. There'll be plenty more after that, too. But I got an opportunity. The NBA actually was like, hey, can you host our G League draft from the NBA studios? We think you've been doing a kick-ass job calling these games, the G League games, play-by-play. Sure. So I'd never hosted a studio show. I'd certainly never hosted a 3-hour draft. And it started, and I sucked. And let me tell you, I'm at the NBA League offices, and this G League show is starting. It's on NBA TV, and I'm bad, dude. I'm nervous. I'm like, it was bad to the point where we were supposed to do like all 6 rounds, and after the first round, they stopped doing it, right? Like, so that was an example of what it's like to fall flat on your face, right? And I wasn't asked back to do, any other studio shows or work with the NBA because clearly I didn't hit the cover off the ball, right? But that was part of my process. Unfortunately for Shedeur Sanders, I don't think his rope is going to be like, he doesn't have a leash that's that long, right? Like, he has got to come in now and make an impact with this opportunity. This is an audition. This is an audition for Shedeur Sanders. And one of the main reasons it's such an important audition is because, guys, we don't know. Look, man, we don't know we do know. Kenny Pickett is a pedestrian NFL quarterback. Dillon Gabriel is like 5'9", and it's just exciting, but like, he's just not your prototypical NFL quarterback. If Dillon Gabriel is going to make a splash in the NFL, that will come as more of a surprise than Shedeur Sanders making a splash in the NFL. That's a fact. And right now, it feels like Shedeur making an impact is once again realistic. So it's not as though Coach Stefanski made this decision, right? Like the Haslam family didn't make this decision, right? Like God made this decision for Shedeur Sanders. Like the seas have parted. Like, guys are hurt. He's getting to start his first ever preseason game. And if there's one thing we know about this dude, he is a gamer. And he makes plays, big plays in big moments. And he's a winner, too. Like, I think the one last thing I'll say about Shedeur before we get to break, and then we got Matt Mosley coming on live from Cowboys training camp after this. He's got moxie. And although some people may see him as not the most polished guy in the world, it's very clear he's connected with his teammates. He was at Jacksonville State. He was at Colorado. And hopefully on Thursday night, we'll get to see again that he is connected with his teammates in the NFL. Big opportunity for Shedeur. I will be watching. I could only hope that he will let it rip. Again, remember the story was reported by Mary Kay Cabot, but Schefter confirmed it, so we know it's real. The Pete Souza Show coming back with